Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of MILF marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, everyone. It is Bree Carroll, and I am excited for you to be here at Hearts and Stripes to share in today's Heart to Heart. So I just am so thrilled to have you a part of this community, listening here with us as we strive to strengthen military marriages. If you know anything about me in this podcast, we are on a mission to bring marriage back in style and to help you celebrate authentically. And as we talk about celebrating authentically, let me just say a happy Labor Day to everyone out there. So today is Labor Day. Maybe you are off of work. Maybe you are working. Thank you for continuing to do what you do. And I really wanted to highlight today on Labor Day, it made me think of those who have allowed us to stay afloat in this country during this time of pandemic. Those frontline healthcare providers, thank you so much. Our emergency responders, thank you so much. And of course, all of you, our military marriage families out there, thank you for all that you do. I think it is worth pausing, especially in 2020 on Labor Day, to remember those who work to help build our economy, yes, to make this country a better place even more, and to sustain us, because we really relied heavily on our essential workers during this time, and it is worth applauding their efforts during this day. Also, since we have this time, you know, I'm all about celebrating. Were you intentional about making plans today? If not, it is not too late. Please spend some time with your significant other, your spouse. Holidays are a prime time for connection, but you have to be intentional about it. You know, maybe it's a lunch date, a dinner date. Maybe it is watching a movie together. Maybe it's busting out those finances and looking at a new plan. I know that's something that my spouse and I will be doing together because there's so many different levels of connection and intimacy. And when I say celebrate authentically, it is based on your core values. So the things that you value, that is what we want to bring to the forefront. That is how we want you to celebrate. And that is how we want you to spend intentional time together, that quality time for those who that's your love language for the 5 love languages, right? We want to ensure that you are celebrating authentically, and it doesn't always have to look like a party. I know sometimes people may think that's what I'm talking about. It's not. Celebrating those wins in your life means that you are planning for them, and that is one of the big things that I advocate for, is a plan. You guys know my background is in civil engineering, so I'm always here for long range planning and for designing the life that you want to live so that you can be fulfilled. So in making that plan, you can get you some benchmarks, some milestones, even some things to look forward to, which also makes your relationship really exciting and special. And that is how you continue to move the needle and become and stay fulfilled in your relationship. So Labor Day, yes, I'm talking about doing a financial date with my spouse, just because, you know, we maybe had some increases. We got a promotion coming up. Thank the Lord. Shout out to that promotion that my husband will be getting. He'll be making major soon. Whoop, whoop. So we are planning for these different milestones that we will hit in ways that we can just live the life that we want to. So I'm encouraging you to do that today. Maybe you'll do something from a more fun angle and just really do nothing on this day off. I know a lot of people who didn't get that break during the pandemic. I hate that people always talked about one side of this narrative, how people are just at home and bored. No, if you're anything like my family, we continue to work. We continue to do the things that were required to keep our offices open and moving forward. So for those who did not get a break, I hope this is a much needed break where you can kick your feet up and just have some you time. Remember, we also advocate very strongly that it is important for you to get some self-care in, because as you take care of yourselves individually, that is also how you grow and strengthen your marriage. So that's all I have on celebrating. Happy Labor Day to all of you out there. And we are going to hop right on into today's Heart to Heart, which continues with our theme all about suicide prevention, PTSD awareness. But I'm going to put a little spin on it because I'll be honest, I was nervous about talking about this topic because I really wanted to do it justice. So this episode won't be too long, but I feel like I have to just touch on the power of relationships. And that's really what I'm going to focus on. I have a whole talk that I do when I'm asked to speak, but the power of relationships as it relates to suicide prevention and PTSD awareness and support just looks a little differently. So if you would just hold on tight and let's chat and let's dive in a little deeper on this conversation. So if you remember from episode 35, our last episode, we had Armed Forces Insurance branch winners, which includes me as the Air Force Spouse of the Year. I had my Sensational Six up here talking about the Million Mile Project. So if you missed that episode, go back and listen. But essentially, we were talking about how we were doing an awareness campaign and we had a goal of hitting our 1,000,000 miles. Arlene is fantastic. She is tabulating all of those entries. It is not too late, guys, for those who have miles. If you have walked between August 15th and September 5th, maybe you've been tracking them on your favorite app, you still have time to enter your miles and make those miles count towards awareness of suicide prevention. That's what September's focus is all about. So the 1,000,000 Mile Project we talked about last week, I was really excited because it really just encouraged people to move. So anyone, your families can get involved. It definitely was a uptick for our military community as we saw some huge engagement of people getting out there running, biking, walking, swimming, rowing, all different ways, and how they were contributing to the initiative and the campaign by moving and bringing awareness to suicide prevention. And I just want to foot stomp yet again to head on over to the 1,000,000 Mile Project Facebook page where you can find frequently asked questions, how you can log your miles if you already did it, how you can send it in. We're sending it just to our simple Gmail account, and then also different resources, which is the big part of today's conversations, resources that can support our spouses, our family, our friends and battle buddies out there who may be struggling with PTSD or maybe are battling with thoughts of suicide. So this is a very serious topic and I don't want us to take it lightly, but the angle that I'll be discussing it from is the power of relationships. And I want to kind of preface this conversation by saying that the decision of a person to take their life is not something that is heavily weighted on you. I am saying in this conversation that you may be the difference, though, that can help and encourage someone to maybe choose to continue to do the hard thing of living another day. So the power of relationships, essentially what I'm talking about here is that you have impact and influence. Can you just think for a second as you're maybe in your squadrons, on your installations, on your base, at your fort, wherever you may be, you may pass tons of people each day, or maybe with the pandemic, you have your mask on, so maybe you're not seeing the expressions on people's faces as much, but you can still tell a lot by a person's body language and just their attitude in general. And we pass so many people. I'm thinking right now in the office, because I'm back in the civil engineering squadron, and I passed, I don't know, 20 plus people every day in the hallway. And I try to make an effort to speak. And even behind my mask, I even try and wear a smile and just be intentional about making a touch point, a connection point with the people who are around me. I just want you to think about those people. Just take a second. I know that you may not have personal relationships with or deep relationships with, but knowing that a hello could maybe be the difference in a person's day, acknowledgement of them could change the course of how the rest of their day goes. That's pretty weighty. And I think we take those interactions for granted, right? I think we focus more so on, our core circles of people, and rightfully so, or your spouse maybe. But let me encourage you to not negate or to lessen the importance of the influence that you have on people who are not in your immediate circle, right? Those people that are just your associates. But let's bring that circle in a little closer and let's talk about those who are in your immediate circle. I know a term that has been thrown around a lot from the podcast that I listen to, and even in that immediate circle, is strong friends. Now, I think I tend to be in that category of a strong friend. And if you're not sure what a strong friend is maybe that person that you go to that has like a lot of the answers, or you get advice from, or they always seem to kind of have it together. Well, as you look in your immediate friend circle, I would just like to encourage you to think about the power of relationships, and in a way that even though you may or may not be that strong friend, the strong friends right now in 2020, they need to be checked up on. Those friends who maybe always don't have things together and always need a helping hand, or, they tend to be like the younger of the group, like the baby of the group or whatever, and always has some crazy, great story to share. They definitely need to be checked up on. But I would encourage you to check up on your strong friends. That battle buddy that always has his head on straight, check in with them. Today's episode is brought to you by B. Carroll Events. And for suicide prevention, we wanted to share some helpful resources that may help you with suicide prevention and PTSD support. American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, Boot Campaign, Code of Support, Cohen Veterans Network, Compassionate Friends, The Days Ahead, Give an Hour, Gray Team, Headstrong, Inner Resource, JTF 22-0, Life Giver, Military One Source, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, Natural Veterans Vocational Village, Reboot Recover, Refuge in Grief, Save a Warrior, Stop Soldier Suicide, Suicide Prevention Resource Center, Team Red, White, and Blue. These are just a couple of resources that we share on the Million Mile Project Facebook group. Be sure to head over and check out the full list of resources. So the reason why I say check up on your strong friends is because oftentimes we underestimate what people are going through. It's tough out here, and I'll be really transparent. 2020 has been hard. It's been such a blessing and beautiful, but it has been hard. I've personally lost people, and we actually found out the other day that one of my sons, somebody that I crossed or initiated into my sorority, his fraternity in the same year, passed away. And he's an alpha, I'm an AKA, and his line brothers I know are taking this very difficult. It's a hard time for them. I personally have experienced watching one of my line sisters lose her partner in life. And this is all in 2020. Y'all know Chadwick has passed. This pandemic and COVID-19 has caused us to lose people. It's a lot. It is very heavy right now. I know Paulette Fryer mentioned on the previous episode also that she had a family member who lost their life, and the members that I'm talking about that I've lost personally was not due to suicide, but she had her cousin who was already struggling with depression, was in this time of isolation. And because he was in this time of isolation, he wasn't able to get the care and the resources that he was signed up and ready to go to. And during this time of isolation, he took his life. And I'm sharing this to say that we have to tap into this power of relationships now more than ever. Like I cannot encourage you anymore. It has to be a priority. In 2020, it has to be a priority because there is just this kind of grieving spirit, if you will, that is like shaking us in 2020. It's like the undertone. We keep losing some amazing people, some to suicide and some to the pandemic and other to other causes. But man, now more than ever, as we talk about suicide prevention, you never know what people are going through. You never know how these other losses are weighing on them. Please check in with one another. Check in on me. Hey, shoot me a DM at B Carol Events on Instagram. That's where I usually hang out with. Check in on your strong friends. Check in on those associates, and let's take it to the core in the center part here of Hearts and Stripes. Check in with your spouse. Guys, there is it's so tough to try to think about, but what I like to do with our couples is do a SWOT analysis. And that talks about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And oftentimes people are surprised that I bring up threats and I foot stomp threats, because people need to understand that their relationships have the opportunity to fail. If you ignore the fact that your relationship could stop, or you may be that there's a threat there, if you never acknowledge that, then you will move and live your life, your married life, as if this stuff can't happen. And I think when there's a realization that this stuff could happen, then you act differently and you are more intentional about how you walk through your marriage with your spouse. And one of the threats that I think people oftentimes do not consider, yes, we think about if our spouse is unfaithful, sure. Yes, we think about a threat of losing things financially, right? Maybe you accumulate a lot of debt or something, and that's like a threat to the relationship that would like have you guys at odds. But I never really hear people saying a threat of suicide. And can I just be very clear with you? That is a threat. That is a real threat. That is something that I've talked to spouses that have gone through that. They never thought that that would be a threat, and it was. And they've lived that. And I think knowing that it's a threat, we can have that conversation using the power of our relationship and care for that person. Maybe when they know they don't want to care for themselves, right? So I would just encourage you to look right in your marriage relationship. How can you be intentional about using that power of relationship to check in? How are you doing? What's on your mind? And sometimes it doesn't even have to be conversational, because those are great questions to ask, but they can always just shrug it off with a fine, or everything's okay. But what are they showing you? What is their body language showing you? Are they being aggressive? Are they acting real nonchalant, like they don't care about things? Are they not taking care of themselves? Sometimes you have to be the person to bridge the gap between where they are right now and maybe the help that they need. We're all about the marriage bridge blueprint, and I just said it there. Sometimes you have to be the bridge to get them there. Because on one side is the situation where you're at, and on the other side, it's living a fulfilled, empowered, sustained, healthy, happy marriage life together. That's what this is all about. And oftentimes, we just need to pause and think outside of our situation, because I know we can get stuck in our heads of like, what did I do wrong to make them want to do this or feel this way or not be, am I not enough? Step out for a second. Step back from that and think about the power that you have in a relationship, and think about how you could better support the person, even maybe if they're in a place where you feel like they cannot reach them. That help may not come from you. That help may come from other programs, other companions, like a companion dog even. There are other resources that you can tap into, but you can use the power of your relationship to impact especially your spouse. So I encourage you today to kind of look at those three groups: your spouse, look at your friend circle, your strong friends especially, right? And to look at your associates, those that you may pass by, that you may work with, that you may see on Facebook, in a Facebook group, or on Instagram. They're not posting like they used to. They're not showing up how they're usually showing up. Or maybe you see some bullying that's going on, right? Because we've seen that in some spouse groups, and I'm not here for that. Like, if I see it, I'm going to shut it down, because I know that that is very hurtful for people, and you never know where people's minds are. You never know what can push that person over the edge and not want to live another day. This next week, all about Suicide Prevention Week. And I am encouraging you during this time in 2020, as we all link arms and say that we are stronger together, that we not just say it, but we take action, and that we show that there is power in relationships. There's power in checking in. There's power in showing a smile. Pull down that mask and show a smile. There's power in our relationships, and that power could save a life. It absolutely can. And I think there's something to be said for those who maybe have lost those to suicide. My heart goes out to you. I pray for those who have had to go through those tough points in their life. But I would say to use the power of your relationship, of your story even, to inspire and encourage others to use the power of relationship. Use your story. That's one of my favorite parts in the Million Mile Project that I've seen in that Facebook group, is the stories that are shared about people who have lost loved ones, sons and daughters, and they're sharing their stories. They're sharing that they're great people. They were wonderful people, but they struggled. Mental health struggles are a real thing, and we shouldn't shy away from them. Yes, I was nervous to talk about this topic, absolutely, but we shouldn't shy away from these discussions because they have to happen. Why? Because even me personally, going through all of these things, I cannot not check in, with myself and say, hey, how am I really feeling on this topic? So we talked about those 3 groups. Dare I add a 4th? Check in with yourself. Are you having suicidal thoughts? So real quick, check in. Are you having suicidal thoughts? If you are, please reach out. You can reach out to me, B. Carol Events on Instagram. I'll be a listening ear. I'll be the bridge if you have no one else to talk to. If you have someone that you feel more comfortable reaching out to, please reach out to them. It's Suicide Prevention Week, and I want to see you guys live. And I want to see your military marriages thrive and be sustainable. That's what we're here for. That's what we're talking about, all on Hearts and Stripes. So thank you for sticking in this conversation with me. I know it was a tough one for Hearts and Stripes. I know that this is not a sexy topic, but it is one that needs to be had because I need you to know that you have power, that there's power in being relational, showing yourself friendly, connecting with people in a sincere and real way, authentically celebrating people. There's power in that. There's power in those attaboys. Great job. I see you working hard. Congrats on that promotion. You look fantastic today. There's power in those celebrations, and the power of relationships is so crucial. I'm sure we'll be back to talk more about the power of relationships on another episode, but thank you so much for just sticking through this heart to heart. We're going to head on over so that you can EYS. Okay, everyone, you know what time it is. It is time to EYS, earn your stripes. So maybe when you were listening to this episode, you had a person come to mind. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's another couple, maybe it was your spouse. I think it is the time for you to be a little more intentional about focusing on those relationships, cultivating those bonds, and just checking in. Like I said, check in on them strong friends, check in with your people because you never know what people are going through. So for today's EYS, I am encouraging you to simply reach out. You can shoot them a DM, a text message, FaceTime, or a call. However you need to reach out, check in with those people that maybe have come to mind. I'd love for you to do just one, but if you thought of more than one, go ahead, go the extra mile, earn that extra stripe, and check in with someone else because depression is a real thing, PTSD is a real thing, and mental health struggles are real. So we want to be there for one another because there is power in relationships. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Mill Marriage Strong.